Welcome, welcome, bloody welcome, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of
Sunday Chat!
And of course, before we begin, we do hope you've all had a very, very Merry Christmas, and we do hope that you'll have a very, very Happy New Year. From our household to yours. Thank you.
It's just all dates though, isn't it? It's like the 1st of January is just a sort of date. It's that was set several years ago in a calendar.
And even if you're living in a war-torn country with no food or drink, we still hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you. Really. There are plenty of people around the world who've not had a very Merry Christmas.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk more about the farcical nature of this time of year shortly. But let's first of all join hands. No.
Oh dear.
First of all, we just want to say a big thank you to all of you for supporting us in 2024 and prior to that, and beyond in the future as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
And, you know, somebody said, I hope you're continuing to do your... Well, yes, we are going to continue, of course, because we do it, like we said last week, to earn a little bit of money to pay the bills.
Yeah, a little bit extra.
Because we need to. So, yes, we will be continuing, of course. I'm going to put my gloves on because I'm feeling a little bit chilly this morning. And we'll talk more about why we don't leave the heating on all day.
That's a real bugbear for us.
Oh, we keep getting
really
these
is.
messages. We leave our heating on all day, it's cheaper.
The thing is, what many people around the world don't realise is we live in a Victorian home. You know, and Edwardian and Victorian homes and Georgian homes are pretty drafty places because they have lots of air circulating through them to keep the house healthy. So in order to keep the house healthy, if we had to have the heating on all the time, it would be thousands more a year. Well, it really would.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, we had a comment, you know, about that. And yeah, you don't realise, like Paul said, Victorian homes are brick and block construction. There is no air gap, so you can't insulate the walls with cavity wall insulation. In order to insulate these houses, you have to build on top of the walls.
Yeah, inside.
Inside or outside, but it has to be construction that adds another layer of insulation. It's not that simple, and it costs thousands and thousands of pounds to do it. So, you know, we are insulated at the top of the house. The roof is insulated. The room at the top of the house is lovely. It stays warm beautifully. But, yeah, so please don't give us advice like that. Leave the heating on all day. And we proved it on Christmas Day, actually, because we had the heating on for about, 4 hours or so.
We had a couple of friends over, and one is from the south of France, and she feels cold quite a bit more because, of course, it's quite a few degrees warmer in the south of France. So we had the heating on specifically for her, though it was on low. It was on really low, and
we saw the difference.
Yeah, the cost of doing that was obvious.
Anywho, so welcome to new subscribers, and thank you for subscribing and following us, blah blah blah. 2 other things and something else. Bye.
And the weather. Yeah.
Have you said Sunday Chat, Paul?
Sunday Chat! Yes, I have. That was the second time, actually.
Oh, good. I can't remember. My brain's all over the place. A little bit like the time of year, but more on that in a minute. Yeah. So, hold on. Let me go to the agenda.
Yeah.
Because I have to follow the
list.
And thank you for our cards and gifts that we've received.
Absolutely.
Even though we don't really celebrate Christmas in the traditional sense, we have had some lovely cards and gifts. So thank you so much. You know who you are.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And also thank you to our coffee supporters as well for the extra gifts that you've sent to us. It's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And yeah.
And I haven't been getting back to everybody over the last couple of days, but you will do by the time this is out. We'll be back to everybody. Yeah.
So yeah, we're filming this on Friday, the 27th, which is a normal day now. We're back to normal time after the Christmas craziness that most people experience. We don't tend to experience that as much.
No, because we don't. We don't let Christmas overtake us in any way whatsoever.
But there are so many people that have done, and you know, I remember that feeling as a child of being very, very overexcited about it, and then having to be sort of hauled around to different people's houses. So very often Christmas Day we would go to my grandparents, my mum's side, and it would be a very long day, a very boozy day, full of play and
baby
sham, loads of food, loads of chocolate, very often loads of presents. We were very lucky, and you know, a very warm fireplace that heated the area, and lots of smoking was going on, lots of drinking. You know, not a terribly healthy atmosphere. And then of course we do all of that, and then all you'd want to do is go home and play with your toys, really. But then Boxing Day would come and we would be hauled to another set of grandparents.
Yeah.
Very often in the day, and then to somebody else's in the evening.
Yeah.
So by the time that's all happened, you're kind of feeling absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
And all you want to do, like I've just said, is sit down and play with your toys. Or read your new book.
For us, I think sometimes, Auntie Phil and Uncle Len, we used to sort of swap with them sort of quite a bit for sort of Christmas and Boxing Day and things. And if it was really fine weather, we would walk to theirs. It would take half an hour to walk there, but we would walk there. I think it took quite a bit longer to walk back in the dark, and I remember torches and things like that because it was going through lanes. But if it was wet, it would be getting in the car.
These were electrical torches rather than flaming torches.
Yes, they weren't sort of hobbit torches that we were carrying around so that we could see.
Really, sure they weren't. The hobbit people of Guernsey.
And they were great times. They were great times, but they were very busy. I mean, you sort of needed a break to get over the break that you'd had, you know. And I think that's even more so now. And you were saying about the sort of healthiness of, you know, lots of drinking, smoking, all of that. And of course, that side of things isn't healthy, and overeating. But I think that coming together of families that was much stronger then, because we all lived, well, generally, we were still living, our family and your family was still living quite close together, where now families are much more disparate and much further apart. And I think that whole thing of coming together as a family, I think, and friends as well, I think that was really healthy, and I think that has gone now. You know, commerce has taken over, and we're treated to this fantasy of a perfect Christmas which doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, I do remember people getting a bit stressed, and I also remember, you know, very often arguments would break out. The kids would start misbehaving, and it would kind of all become a mishmash of noise, and if that's what family is, then, you know, it's a bit stressful in general. And like you say, there is this idea of this perfect time, you know, and I'm not sure it kind of exists, you know.
Yeah.
And very often I think the images of the perfect time were images that were kind of unattainable, and they were images that were used to advertise Christmas to us.
And I think now it's even
you must
more
do
prevalent.
this, you must eat this, you must have that, blah blah blah. And you know, I don't know, I think I got to a certain point, I think as a teenager, and it was like, oh really, all of this again, you know? And started to sort of not want it. And I think also I remember sort of turning vegetarian and thinking of the idea of this dead bird being in the oven for God knows how many hours.
And in the house for God knows how many days. Yeah.
Now the thought of that is like, yuck. So, yeah, I don't know, it's a weird time. And it's so full on from every direction, you know, from advertising, shopping, the whole thing.
And from friends and family as well. I mean, you know, when you're building up to this, every time someone is saying to you before, oh, have a happy Christmas, have a happy Christmas. You know, even if you're at the plot or walking on the street and you see somebody you know, it's, relentless.
I think it is relentless.
Overwhelming.
Well, I think it is, and I think it is for a lot of people, but they don't admit it. And the other interesting thing to think about is that actually all of this is sold to us as some kind of 2,000-year-old tradition.
Which it's, of course it's not.
Which it's not.
Yeah.
It's maybe 100, 150 years old, this kind of concept of the Christmas celebration, you know, and like you've just said, it's attached to commerce, it's attached to money and, you know, earnings and all of that. And I don't know, the older I get, the more and more I find it bizarre.
Becoming a grumpy old man.
Well, becoming.
Yeah, I think you've been one for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, it's...
I mean,
also,
I know people...
The other thing, hold on, before I forget what I'm going to say, because it will go and it will disappear. And, I've forgotten it already. Yeah, that's it. What I find also quite amazing is the constant reference to alcohol, and I've said this before, and there was a clip of something and somebody said, well, that's what Christmas is all about. And basically they just talked about getting completely and utterly trashed on Christmas Day on drink and drugs. And I thought, really? Is that really what Christmas is meant to be about? Because actually, I have far more admiration for people that treat it as a religious festival and observe it as a religious festival. Because if it's going to be that, let it be that. But instead it's turned into this money fest.
Yeah, and of course it what used to happen is you used to build up to Christmas Day, didn't you? And people now still build up to Christmas Day, but Christmas seems to go on for like 3 or 4 weeks now. You know, you've got the build up to it, you've got Christmas parties, you've got, you know, you're being told about Christmas sort of way off, and then, you know, so-and-so's throwing a Christmas party and you feel you better throw one as well, so you're scheduling in events and happenings. And people used to just celebrate particular days. It was like, you know, around Christmas Day and 12th night, those were the big celebrations. And then the rest of the time, it was just getting on with life.
I can remember the excitement of having gifts as a child. Obviously, virtually every child that is fortunate to receive gifts at Christmas, let's put it that way, gets excited. But I can remember thinking and trying to rationalise all this talk about Christmas being a magical day, blah, blah, blah. And I can remember as a child, and I can remember thinking, remember this time. I remember looking out and it was a dreary Christmas morning and thinking to myself, well, it doesn't look any different. I was expecting, I don't know how old I was, but I was expecting it to look different and to feel different. And it didn't. And it was the same with New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's New Year, woo! I'm thinking, is it going to look different?
Will it be different?
Will it be covered in magical sparkles?
And of course we grow up and find out it's not.
You know, so it's kind of, on one level, feeling slightly disappointed, but very happy with all these lovely new things that you've acquired because it was Christmas.
I've spoken about this previous years, and I now, even though Mum and Dad are now gone, I still hold guilt about finding out the truth around Christmas and my parents and what my parents did for me over my first 10 years or whatever, 12 years. And I still have a guilt with that, because I would get presents from my mum and dad. I would get mum and dad presents as well as other gifts, if you see what I mean, without mentioning names. And I still harbour a guilt for that, because it doesn't feel right that I don't think, I know we all say that Christmas is about children and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't, but most people do. I think it's actually about family. I think it's more about family than it is about Christmas. Of course, family may not be blood family. It may be a family that you've chosen to live with. Maybe because you're estranged from your blood family. So, family is a wide sort of expanding and elastic word, and surely it must be about that rather than gift giving. Or one gift, one gift. But this, yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting as well because, in the Northern Hemisphere, certainly, this time of year, I mean, this year we've been fairly okay with the weather, and we'll come on to Richard and Paul's weather report in a moment.
Yes, rather later than normal.
I know, it's all over the place, just like the time of
Christmas.
Year.
Yeah.
We're reflecting that, you see. I think I said it last week, but it's also a struggle for people to get to their destinations at this time of year. And I think I mentioned it on my vlog as well, that they always decide to do all the roadworks and the railway works at Christmas. And they shut several lines and close motorways because, it's the quietest time of year. But then they say in the other breath, 14 million people will be on the roads this Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't get that. So it's a struggle. And actually, I'd rather see my family in the summertime. Because travel is, well, generally easier. At the moment, we can't really predict, can we, how it's going to be.
But of course,
in terms of extreme weather events.
In the southern hemisphere, Christmas is the summertime, so
on
you
the
would
beach,
be
on the
seeing
beach.
family in the summertime.
Nice, different, unusual.
But yeah, it's a funny time of year, and I think being aware and understanding of other people who are not enjoying or feeding into the commercial machine of Christmas and New Year. I think that's really valuable as well. Some people just want to take that step back and maybe not engage at all. Personal choices.
I'm having coffee.
Lovely.
Lift-off will occur in a few minutes.
We're both feeling a little bit sort of jaded this morning, aren't we? You're waking up really early, and it's a bit like sort of Bagpuss. Once he wakes up, I sort of tend to wake up and sort of toss and turn. So I'm feeling a bit like that as well.
Last week I've been waking up between 4 and 5 in the morning every day. Not sure why. I'm not feeling particularly tired, although I feel as though I could probably sleep for a week. But anywho, let's get on to the weather report. Richard and Paul's weather report.
Yes. Christmas weather report, a New Year weather report.
Well, we've got the grey blanket again.
Yeah.
The bloody grey blanket. Thick, grey, white cloud hanging over the UK. Anticyclonic gloom again. No sign of it shifting at the moment, so it's very meh, really. And it's cooler. Christmas Day and yesterday were sort of fairly mild, but it's the temperature's dropped. We had some condensation on the bedroom window this morning, so we can tell that the temperature has dropped. But I tell you what, since we had the heating sorted, it really feels as though we're maintaining a better temperature.
Well, I think because the boiler, the radiators and the boiler are working more efficiently.
Yeah.
I think the pump wasn't working efficiently because it was on its last legs, and now the pump is working efficiently. So I think it will be better.
Seems to be retaining its heat a little bit better. So that's good news, isn't it? Great. Yeah. Super duper. So,
and going forward, it looks as though we are going to have some sun on Sunday or Monday, but then we go into another period of gloom, but a period of wet gloom by the looks for New Year's Day and going into the weekend of the new year. So yeah, I'm doing a few things at the plot at the moment whilst the weather is still dry, and I'm hoping to get a few jobs done over the coming days. So yeah. And next week, I mean, Monday and Tuesday are work days. Today, I am going to be doing a little bit of work at my desk today just to get ahead for next week. I'm spending a day at Earth's Sake next week, and we're looking at the stock that we have in the shop, the stock that the products we say we sell online, or that's for deliveries, and also our printed shopping list, and deciding there are quite a few things in there that we no longer have in the shop, and we have to decide, do we actually want to get them or should we scrub them out completely? So I'm printing out quite a lot of things to go through next week. So it'll be a busy day when I'm down there, though I will be coming home early because we've got something in the evening. So yeah. There we are.
So yeah, Christmas Day we had our friends over, our friend and neighbour and her sister who's up from the south of France, like Paul mentioned earlier. We had a lovely meal.
Oh, it was
a
lovely.
Really good meal. Nut roast, parsnips baked in Gruyere, roast potatoes, carrots, sprouts. I think that was it, wasn't it?
Did you say parsnips?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Gruyere, yeah. I think that was it.
Yeah. Nice big plate full. We had a homemade chocolate brownie cake.
Which was the best brownie thing that you've made, I think.
It was.
And
I used a new recipe.
He did.
And it was not healthy. It was full of butter, sugar, chocolate and gluten. Yum.
So what we decided on Christmas Day, instead of leaving it out, it's been portioned up and gone into the freezer.
The remainder.
So that's
very
good.
rich.
And this year I changed my nut roast. If you want to know the nut roast that I do, it's it's in our playlist, our recipes playlist, and I did add some shiitake mushrooms and some normal mushrooms this time. And I think that worked quite well.
It was absolutely delicious. I had second helpings of the nut roast. It was so good. So good. And the great thing about nut roast, when it's left over, it can be used to make, say, a bolognese sauce or a chili. Chopped up, it adds that lovely grainy, almost meaty texture to a sauce, which is very pleasant. So, yeah. We've got a few leftovers still, which I think we're going to make into a soup.
We are.
And have for lunch. Blend it all into a creamy soup. Lovely. We had Bubble and Squeak the other morning.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Which was leftover potato from the other day with some carrots and sprouts all mashed together and fried. And it was delicious.
And it did squeak.
It did.
It was squeaking in the pan.
I mean, traditionally, Bubble and Squeak is potato and cabbage, isn't it? Traditionally, but it can be anything.
Yeah.
Any leftovers fried up and eaten as a breakfast or a meal. And that was good. Really good.
It was.
So yesterday we sort of chilled out. I can't even remember what we did yesterday. I had an afternoon nap, I know that.
I finished a book that was recommended to me by MJ in Canada. It was Nigel Slater's The Christmas Chronicles. I think I mentioned this last week as well. which I'd started reading last week, and I finished it on Boxing Day. I'm a great fan of Nigel Slater, and I am a even greater fan, I think, of his book Kitchen Diaries, particularly Volume 1, which I do have. This sort of takes you through the build up to Christmas and when you make your puddings and when you make your cakes and when you make your mincemeat, and then it takes you through to, I think it's Candlemas, isn't it, which is like the last day of Christmas, or the Christmas festivities, which goes on to sort of, in olden times, like the beginning of February. And it takes you through day by day, or after a few days something will happen. And it's a brilliant book. I think it's the best book of Nigel Slater that I've read.
Has it got recipes in it?
It's got a whole load of recipes in there. If you're vegan or vegetarian, there are meat recipes in here, not surprisingly. However, I sort of skip through those. But it's what it does is it tells you the sort of the history and the folklore behind certain events. It's a bit like the Christmas cake, that we have Christmas cake. We didn't used to have a Christmas cake. This goes back to what Richard was saying about, in old, Christmas as we see it now is only about 150 years old. On 12th night, which is the 12th night of Christmas, which is 6th of January, a 12th night cake would be made, and that would sort of use up all the fruits and things that you had left over. And then that was banned by a king. It was banned. So what happened is people enjoyed Christmas cake so much they moved it forward to Christmas, and it became the Christmas cake. And there's lots of sort of history and folklore in this book that I found absolutely fascinating. And in fact, we were talking yesterday about how Boxing Day, if it falls on a Sunday in the UK, Boxing Day, if it falls on a Sunday, you actually celebrate Boxing Day on the Monday. You don't celebrate it on the Sunday. And we were talking about that.
And you get the Tuesday as well.
And you get the Tuesday as a bank holiday. And we were talking about that. And then I went to this book, read a bit, and there was a paragraph that said exactly the same thing. I think you mentioned it in your daily vlogs as well, didn't you?
I talked about Boxing Day, yeah. Oh, I feel Christmased out again.
Yes. But yeah, thank you very much, MJ. That was a brilliant suggestion. I got the book from my local library, which is terrific, though I have asked Vivi to look out for it in her travels and in my travels of charity shops, because it's a book that I would like to have and dip into in future years. However, it's not one that I would rush to buy. When I see it at the right price in a charity shop, I'll make the purchase then, or Vivi knows to as well.
God.
Well,
Talk about go on and on and on.
But yeah, it was
You've said it all now.
It's a lovely book.
Nigel Slater, I can take him or leave him, really.
Yeah, you're not a great fan,
really.
are you? No. Anyway, there we are.
Bring back Delia Smith, I say.
Oh, Delia.
She's getting on now, isn't she, poor Delia?
I would have thought, yeah.
She must be 80 now.
I mean, we've watched a bit of sort of old TV over sort of Christmas, and you suddenly realise that these people that you thought were 10 years older than you, like 40 years ago, we've all aged. You get old.
Well, speak for yourself.
Well, I do. Because I smile a lot and I laugh, and I'm out in the open and I don't mind the cold. Yeah. Where your cosseted little self.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Really? So, it's that time of the day when we have a look at the word. This is a word for every day of the year by Stephen Poole. Right, okay, so you're watching this
29th.
on the 29th
of December.
Oh, that's not too... okay.
Mm.
Onomatomania.
Well, we know
Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. Okay.
Is it recurring?
Onomatopoeic is what? No, I'm thinking of alliteration.
Oh yeah, I might think of alliteration. Yeah, recurring words.
Is it when it sounds... Onomatopoeic is it when it sounds like...
It sounds like the word it is.
No, that's...
Oh, Vivi will be shouting across the camera, letting us know what onomatopoeia means. Alexa, what does onomatopoeia mean?
Onomatopoeia is usually defined as the formation of a word, as cuckoo, meow, honk, or boom.
Yeah.
The imitation of a sound made by or associated with its referent.
So yeah. Thank you, Alexa. Alexa, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so onomatopoeia, one would think that it's an obsession about things, words that sound like what they are.
Oh,
well,
I don't know.
Let's find out, shall we? Right, you ready?
Yeah.
You know the feeling of not being able to remember the word for something?
Yeah,
we've just gone through that, yeah. If, in particular, you can't remember the word for not being able to remember the word for something that... What? I'm going to read that again. That was a bit of a long sentence. If, in particular, you can't remember the word for not being able to remember the word for something, then you are suffering onomatopoeia with respect to onomatopoeia. For that is what it means.
There we are. So actually, what the onomatopoeia
I don't understand that
and
sentence.
the alliteration, and us thinking that that was more alliteration than was actually a example of exactly what the word is.
Or one of its meanings anyway.
One.
The word from the Greek for name madness was first defined in the New Sydenham's Society's Lexicon of Medicine and Allied Sciences, 1892, as both intense mental anguish at the inability to recall some word or name a thing.
I suffer from that every single day, several times a day.
And also morbid dread of some word. Later, it was also used to mean an irrational obsession with words themselves. Okay, and it goes on to talk about other things, but I'm not going to read that bit.
I think, yeah, I used to have a fear of the word meteorological until I could actually say it, because I've got a bit of a lisp, and it was a bit of a tongue twister anyway, isn't it? And yeah, but now I can say it, I'm not fearful of saying it anymore. But I think that's interesting because, you know, there's so many times, and we've talked about this, where you're thinking of somebody's name or a word and you're trying to pull it in and it just won't come. And then, you know, you go about your day and then 2 hours later you think, bananas!
Well, it's like fleeting thoughts.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I very often have a fleeting thought and think, oh, must remember that. And then I was talking about this the other day to somebody. Do you remember the old style TVs, those huge boxes that we used to have with the cathode ray tube inside? When you turn it off, very often it would go sort of to a little dot and then the dot would fade. Very often if I'm having a fleeting thought and then the thought starts to go, it's kind of like that, and I'm like, no, I want, come back, no, it's gone. And the dot has gone, and the thought has gone. Yeah. Age, I guess.
Vivi gave us some presents, and I had a very nice present, a writing present, and I do carry a notebook round with me, but I have tended to use my phone to make notes recently. I use Google Keep and I make notes. I think of something, I open up my phone and I make a note. The problem with that is that once I've opened my phone, you then sometimes have notifications on your phone, and you check your notifications, and then you go down the rabbit hole of spending 10, 15 minutes on your phone doing things. And I'm really going to try to use a notebook, because I can open that notebook, make the note, I might see other notes I've made, but I then shut the notebook, and I don't have notifications in that notebook of emails and Facebook comments and things like that need to be answered or may need to be answered. So yeah, I'm really trying to go for notebooks.
We've usually got several notebooks on the go.
But for me, it's using them. I've gone to my phone so quickly.
I think very often these things happen when you're sort of sat on the sofa relaxing, the notebook is over the other side of the room, and by the time you've sort of thought, oh God, I've got to go and get the notebook. So we should make sure that we are sat with a notebook open and ready with a pen there, ready for the notes.
Yeah.
If we're going to make a New Year's resolution,
which we're not,
it would be that, to be ready to take a note. It's like music. I mean, I did a little bit of music yesterday, but then my energy dipped and I could no longer be creative, and I was cold as well because the heating had gone off.
Well, you've got the heater up there.
Yeah, but I got to that point where my brain just sort of thought, no, this is not working. When I'm going to sleep at night, I will get the most amazing tunes in my head. But then I think, no, if I start singing that now, and I don't take my phone to bed either.
Which he doesn't.
No, I don't have the phone in the bedroom. I don't believe in having the phone next to me all the time. There's no way to capture it. And of course, if you're working creatively, you should be prepared to spend time at any point in the day. But of course that's not convenient, especially when you work. You can't be getting up at 2 a.m. to write down a tune, because that's just not going to work with your rhythm.
No. No.
So, hey ho, c'est la vie, whatever. Right. Time for the final segment of the show.
Oh, I've got itchy eyes.
Oh, shut up. What have we watched?
So much care and loving in those words.
Yeah, yada, yada, yada. What have we watched on television this week? The thing about television at this time of year is they roll out all the Christmas specials. And of course, there are several shows that we've watched over the years and enjoyed that have had Christmas specials. And frankly, we found 3 of them to be rather disappointing, and we gave up.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Absolutely.
Paul? We did.
So Gavin and Stacey, which has been heralded by the BBC every single opportunity.
Heralded is not the word.
On radio, on idents, on TV.
Rammed down your throat.
We gave up. I laughed once with something that happened with Ness, and we gave up after about 7 minutes.
Well, you laughed once more than I did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't laugh once.
So we gave up on that.
Yeah.
But we knew that another ex-favourite, a particular ex-favourite of ours, Outnumbered, was also on, and we had recorded it. So we started watching that. And we gave up after about 5 minutes. It's that thing of should you ever go back and revisit and try and reinvigorate marvellous things that have happened in the past? Sometimes they work. I think with Frasier, it's not as good as it was, but it's still, you still laugh, it's still very entertaining. But some things no. And what was the other thing?
Well, with Outnumbered, I think they started to lose outnumbered
in the last series
when the kids grew up.
Yeah.
Because I think the funniest part of Outnumbered was the little girl, because she delivered the lines so well. I think some of it was a little bit ad-libbed as well in places, but she was brilliant and very, very funny. The way she would flummox the adults with the continual questioning, it was brilliant. Once that had gone, I think a huge part of it had disappeared. A huge part of the fun about it had disappeared. I just didn't gel with me at all, this Christmas special.
And I think also there's sometimes when something has been really good and then you try and recreate it, and that you try and recreate the character rather than the character that you were playing as the actor, if you see what I mean.
No, I don't see what you mean.
You try and create. You try and treat this character as a real person rather than a character that you and others have created, and I think that happened in the Famous Five that we watched, because we watched the next Famous Five, and one of the main characters in that, it just felt as though she was saying, "Oh, I know how to play this part now, so actually I'm just going to phone it in."
The Famous Five new episode was very disappointing.
Yeah, again, we gave up after about 10 minutes.
We
maybe.
did. It just didn't work. It lost whatever spark of magic it had in the previous episodes. So, and the other disappointing special was the pottery throwdown.
Yeah.
That was flat. Absolutely flat.
Yeah.
Flat as a pancake.
Yeah.
Just didn't work. So we're not going to spend any more time talking about those. Let's focus on the things that we did enjoy. There was a rerun of a very old Victoria Wood Christmas special. Victoria Wood All Day Breakfast. And we've got another Victoria Wood Christmas special with all the trimmings to watch as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is genius at work as far as we're concerned.
Absolutely.
And again, like whenever I watch something about George Michael, it's the same with Victoria Wood. I was a huge Victoria Wood fan in my teens and my late teens. During her heyday, I had everything on videotape. I used to rewatch the sketches. I can recite half of the sketches as well. And that to me was, when she died, it was such a huge loss to entertainment, you know. So I'm so glad that they still show the reruns, because they still make me laugh.
Oh, I mean, laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And the class of the writing, the quality of it.
The value.
And the delivery. The delivery of it from these actors who they just understand comedy. I mean, it's an interesting thing, because if you are really good at doing comedy, you have really good timing. And you are therefore a good actor. It doesn't mean that if you're a good actor, like a good straight actor, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be good at comedy. But if you're good at comedy, you will definitely be a good straight actor.
I think the only criticism I have of some of the Victoria Wood sketches is they didn't always allow, in some of the filmed segments that weren't in front of a studio audience, they didn't always allow for the laughter.
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose a line.
Yeah.
You know?
And unfortunately now you can go back quite easily 10 seconds and pick it up.
Yeah, so I think that's the only criticism I would have, and that's a production thing. We watched A Top of the Pops from Christmas 1984, which was fascinating. 1984 was a very good year for music, as far as I'm concerned. The height of the 80s, with huge bands that, you know, continue to
be around now,
play and tour now. You know, bands like Duran Duran, Nick Kershaw, Spandau Ballet,
Culture Club,
Human League. You know, I mean,
Major.
Yeah, such a good time.
And it was quite interesting because each of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, which was like huge at that time as well, and it was interesting because they didn't have presenters in this one. They each of the lead singers then introduced the next band. That was quite an interesting concept, I thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but yeah, it was. Paul Young as well.
Yeah.
Howard Jones. I mean, the list goes on. Just fantastic. We also watched Annie Lennox at the BBC, which is a concert that well, there were two things we watched.
It was an evening of Annie Lennox at the BBC.
Yeah. So you had clips, first of all, of various performances.
From their archive.
And then
BBC's
you had a concert of her, which was, I think, filmed in 2009. Again, you know, really enjoyable to watch. I prefer the Eurythmics. That I was a big Eurythmics fan. Got all their albums. I prefer that period of time rather than the solo stuff that Annie Lennox did. And I'm not really into soul singing as such. I prefer the more experimental side of the Eurythmics when they first started. But it was really enjoyable to watch. She's a very excellent performer in terms of giving herself. You know, she gives a hell of a lot to the show, which, you know, you really appreciate. And again, if you've paid to go and see her, she gives you a good value show. Yeah. You know.
I thought it was interesting. She did, several years ago, she did a Christmas album. And I thought that was a rather odd sort of thing to do. I just thought it was odd. And then I found out, whilst I was watching, that she was born on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So suddenly, knowing that her birthday is Christmas Day and she was born on Christmas Day, it sort of made the Christmas album make sense. Because so much of Christmas, as we talked about, also wrapped around her own birthday. So that was interesting.
And of course, as a person in society, she's done a heck of a lot of campaigning for various groups of people. So, you know, she's got that altruistic side to her, that philanthropic side, you know, which so many of these top artists do have, which is always admirable. So, yeah. And she's 70 now, isn't she?
I think she's older than that.
I thought she was 70 on Christmas Day.
I thought she was 79.
79? I don't know.
No, it can't be.
I think she's 70.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. We also watched A Ghost Story for Christmas, which was an E. Nesbitt story, based on an E. Nesbitt story.
Written by Mark Gatiss.
And very charmingly produced.
Yeah.
So we won't say anything about it. That was on...
Celia Imrie was in it, going back to Victoria Wood.
Yeah.
Celia Imrie was in it, so that was lovely.
That's BBC Two. Yeah, it was quite interesting. Yeah.
You sort of knew what was going to happen, but yeah.
Kind of. We also watched the Sister Boniface Christmas special, and actually out of all of the Christmas specials, that one was the most entertaining.
Yeah.
And actually the pace was right. It flowed well. It was enjoyable to watch. So that was good.
Yeah, it was. It worked well.
We continue with Strange New Worlds, Star Trek on Paramount Plus.
Yeah. And we finished Frasier. So that was season 2 of Frasier, and I think it's been recommissioned, so I think there's another one coming out. I watched, when Richard was asleep, I watched Strike. I'm quite a fan of Strike. It was across 6 episodes, and boy, was it long. Yeah, it felt as though it should have been across 2 like it normally is. But, yeah, there we are.
And we watched a trashy old sci-fi.
Oh, we
with
did.
Peter Cushing and Doug McClure.
Yeah.
McClure.
McClure.
Which was At the Earth's Core. What a pile of absolute steaming
doo-doo. Yeah.
I honestly don't know how people got these budgets.
But they
to
did.
make these films.
You know, and that you paid the artists more than everything else.
Peter Cushing is atrocious in it.
Yeah.
Really just atrocious. I hate to say that, but he is. And the supporting cast, I mean, oh God, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. What a waste of life.
Yeah.
Frankly.
But we watched
it.
We watched the last hour of it. We didn't know how it sort of began, but it had quite a funny ending.
Oh, it's terrible. So, absolutely terrible. That's it for our viewing this week.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've got a couple more Christmas specials to watch.
Yeah, I think most probably. Yeah, I'm not sure.
You've recorded a load of old doo-doo, Paul.
I have, yeah. Some of which we will watch, and some of it we won't. I mean, like, you know, Outnumbered and Kevin and Stacey. Those are recorded, and they've been to. Oh, we also watched the Christmas Bake Off, which actually was quite enjoyable. It had 4 celebrities. It was the EastEnders and
celebrities.
Well, no, they were in EastEnders and Emmerdale. I think that's what it was, and yeah, that was quite entertaining.
Was it? I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah.
So there we are. That's it for this week's show.
That's it for this week's Sunday Chat.
Yeah. That was a bit all over the place.
And it's the last Sunday Chat of 2024. It'll be 2025 when we see you next time. Gosh. A whole new year. Not. Well, it is, but not. Yeah.
Hey ho. That's how it goes. The calendar moves along.
It does. Yeah.
The date changes.
Yeah.
How nice. So, take care. Thanks for watching. Sorry it was all kind of...
Higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah.
All over the place this week.
That's, like I said earlier, it's a reflection of the time.
I mean, you do, you know, this time of year, you just look, what day is it?
Yeah,
is it this? Is it that?
We know, we get it.
It really is, yeah.
So, bye for now, and thank you so much for watching. Take care. Toodle pip.
And if you are celebrating New Year, have a happy New Year celebration.
Yeah, all right.
We'll see you in a week's time for further segment of Sunday Chat.
Yeah, all right. Gosh. Bye for now.
Bye.